Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to see everybody this morning. Look down at my watch and it was 10 o'clock already. I couldn't believe it. So we are ready to get started. Please stand with me for our first song of praise. Praise the Lord.
Ya lo recibieron por allá y yo lo oí en el radio y entonces ya dijo que iban a venir y entonces él oró por nosotros y dijo, recibimos la palabra de Dios y seguimos en eso nosotros, muy gozosos así.
Un poquito más de 20 años que estamos subiendo por acá en las montañas, que el Señor me trajo a este lugar por medio de un programa de radio. El camino al llegar aquí a las lagunas es muy peligroso. Yo estando niño de 2 años me pegó una enfermedad de la polio, pues no podía caminar y un día una persona me regaló un patín. De esa manera yo me muevo y es un reto grande que tengo de llevar el evangelio por allá. Para las cosas de Dios no nos impide nada. Ellos estaban muy necesitados de Dios. Cuando llegó esa bendición de operación de una Navidad, pues fue una gran bendición porque los niños nunca habían tenido un regalo felices cuando recibieron aquel regalo y aquella palabra, que ellos aceptando a Cristo como su Salvador, fue una bendición para ellos.
Tengo 3 nietos aquí y ahí participan en el estudio, todos los 3.
Los niños tuvieron sus enseñanzas, sus 2 lecciones, les dimos un certificado, se graduaron y tuvimos una fiesta. Cuando llegó el Evangelio, un cambio para cada una de las familias. Han recibido a Cristo en su corazón. Esta es otra generación. Han salido generaciones. El evento de la inauguración de la iglesia estuvo precioso, estuvo muy bonito. Jamás habíamos tenido esta bendición, orando a Dios por mucho tiempo por una casa de oración.
28 años que escuché la palabra de Dios, no pensaba que iba a haber una casa de oración aquí en este lugar, pero hoy ya estoy viendo esto y me siento contento.
Para mí es una preciosa bendición, porque esto es lo que esperábamos. Puedo Dios ver como un cuartel para preparar a niños, a jóvenes, a hermanos, para llevar el Evangelio a otros lugares. Dios está haciendo cosas grandes, preciosas, aquí en este pueblo. Y este lugar va a ser pionero para llevar el Evangelio a otros lugares.
The theme for November of being thankful. That's why you're singing this song again. Please stand with me as we sing our next song of praise and thanks. Join me now in the responsive reading, number 720, entitled The Priesthood of Believers. Excuse me, I will read the regular type if you'll please respond with me in the bold. For there is one God, and there is one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus. Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who calls you to account for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and meekness. You are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people, that you may declare the wonderful deeds of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Live as free men, yet without using your freedom as a pretext for evil, but live as servants of God. Tend the flock of God, that is your charge, not by constraint but willingly, not for shameful gain but eagerly, not as domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd is manifested, you will obtain the unfading crown of glory. Please join with me now as we sing all three verses of the serpent song.
In the night time I will fear. Good morning. It's good to see everyone here today. We don't have a video. I'll explain that in a moment. Judy and I heard from Brian Wade yesterday. He's doing well. He sends his love to everyone. He hasn't joined yet, but he's leaning toward a church he's been attending. And church, a lot of similarities. As a bivocational pastor, and the bivocational pastor, now you folks are going to really, I think, feel badly about your luck of the draw. His bivocational pastor is an Elvis impersonator. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. He's an Elvis impersonator. So you get stuck with a Baltimore slumlord, and he gets an Elvis impersonator. Oh well. Just as a matter of housekeeping or explanation, most of the time, there's a rhyme or a reason to the things I do and why I do them. They're not always readily accessible. One of the things I usually ask you to do is to take the bulletin insert out. The bulletin insert is strategically placed. On the back of the bulletin insert is the prayer list. Hopefully you'll be able to keep both of those close to you during the week. I ask you to make notes of things that God has said to you as I speak, and that does a couple of things. We learn things by seeing, by hearing, by sensing. You can write them down. And so by hearing, seeing, sensing, you learn, and it helps you to retain things. It's hard to believe it was 37 years ago. I was a traveling Bible salesman, and we had a special King James, or St. James, we had a special King James Bible with Ricardo Montalbano called it Rich Corinthian Letter. This Bible in 1982 was a $150 Bible. Had paper made in Italy, a special vellum made in Italy. Now, just to put that in perspective, if you found in your mattress a dollar bill that you had from 1982, that dollar would be worth 37 cents today. Same buying power. So that Bible I was hawking at $150 would be a $400 Bible today. So how to get people to turn loose with their money, and I'd love to say I thought of this on my own, but the Lord revealed it to me. I sold to religious bookstores, and so I had to get them excited about the product. And so what I would do, and in the Northeast it got cold, my Bible bag would go in the hotel room with me because I traveled a lot, and when I was in the car, it would be down by the heater. So when I would take, and the Bible bag would be the first thing out, because I wanted, they'd always say, what's new, what's new, what's new? And I had about 25 companies. What's new, what's new? Here's the greatest thing I've got. After this, we can have a cup of coffee and I can go home. And so I, kind of building it up emotionally for them. Berg is just sitting back there shaking his head because he hates the psychological stuff. But, I just, it works. Anyways, so I would make a fuss, and I'd take the Bible out. It was in a box, and it had that very special wrapping paper on, and I would undo it, and I would pick it up, and the smell of fresh leather. Don't you love it? I said, what's your favorite Bible verse? And they would tell me their favorite Bible verse. And I would turn it to them, and I'd say, read that. I want you to notice the font, the type. I want you to feel the pages. Read that verse to me. So now they are smelling the Bible. They are seeing the Bible. They are hearing about the Bible. They are hearing God's Word in their ear, and God's Word is on their lips. Think I sold any of those Bibles? It was a limited edition. The point is, the reason I show a video, the reason I have a PowerPoint, the reason I have the bulletin, I want to put this into your mind several times, that whatever way you learn the best, you can get these truths that God has revealed and get them in your heart and keep them there. Today we're talking about fuzzy logic, and for those that don't know, I try and have a title that when people are Googling something like this will pop up and lead them to our YouTube page where they can hear a sermon from God's Word. I think we have an impact outside of these walls, people who will never darken these doors, that listen to a sermon that God is able to use, and we're just thankful for all opportunities that Elkridge has to get the gospel out. Fuzzy logic. Romans chapter 8, verse 18 through 28. This is out of the Message translation. That's why I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is being more or less held back. God reins it in until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at the same moment into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful anticipation deepens. All around us we observe a pregnant creation. That is an interesting term. The difficult times of pain through the world are simply birth pangs. But it's not only around us, it's within us. The Spirit of God is arousing us within. We're also feeling the birth pangs. These sterile and barren bodies of ours are yearning for full deliverance. That is why waiting does not diminish us any more than waiting diminishes a pregnant mother. Meanwhile, the moment we get tired in the waiting, God's Spirit is right along aside, helping us along. If we don't know how or what to pray, it doesn't matter. He does our praying in and for us, making prayer out of our wordless sighs, our aching groans. He knows us far better than we even know ourselves. He knows our pregnant condition and keeps us present before God. And then a verse that we're coming up on a verse most everybody knows. That's why I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created word itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Here we go. That's why we can be so sure that every detail in our lives of love for God is worked into something good, or, as you more commonly know it, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose. Let's pray. Now, Lord, we pray that you would take these words and thoughts today, help us to convert them into actions that we can honor and glorify you. In your name we ask. Amen. Fuzzy logic, fuzzy math, what some of us experience from time to time, fuzzy thinking. In 1990, 26-year-old Danny Simpson was desperate for money, so he decided to rob a bank at gunpoint in Ottawa, Canada. He made away with close to $6,000, but he was apprehended shortly thereafter by the police. Upon his arrest, the gun he had used was confiscated by the police, and Danny was sent to jail for 6 years. John Duncan, you're going to love this next part. Later, the Ottawa police discovered that the pistol Simpson had used was not a typical handgun, but an antique. The gun Simpson used was a .45 caliber Colt semi-automatic pistol, one of only 100 made by the Ross Rifle Company in Quebec City in 1918. That pistol was worth upwards of $100,000, which was a lot of money in 1990. Danny was a victim of fuzzy thinking. He needed money desperately. He could have walked into any pawn shop or sold that for almost 20 times what he got in value, and he would have saved himself 6 years of imprisonment. Fuzzy thinking. We all know fuzzy thinking. We've all said to ourselves, as an aside, there's a reason that old men have receding hairlines and stoop shoulders. That's for so many years of people asking us a question, and we say, and they give us the answer, we go, how many times have we said to ourselves, what was I thinking? How many times have we said to our kids, what were you thinking? See, fuzzy thinking is a thing that we kind of lose our focus. We're all victims of fuzzy thinking. Sometimes ours, sometimes other people. So what is fuzzy logic, fuzzy math? Classical logic permits conclusions that are either true or false. It's true or it's false. Think about it this way. When you're driving your car down the street, the brakes are either on or off. Before 1978, if you slammed on the brakes hard to avoid that maggot-infested hippie protester in the middle of the road, your brakes would lock up and there'd be skid marks, and the car would usually probably turn a little bit sideways, depending on how fast you were going. The police could measure those skid marks and tell how fast you were going before the collision. Now with anti-lock braking systems, ABS, when you slam on the brakes, you don't skid anymore. You get that pulse. Why? Because the ABS computer applies fuzzy logic and fuzzy math. There's a calculation. The brakes are either on or off. When you hit those brakes, they're on. But how hard do those brakes need to be hit? You hit them too hard, you skid. So what the computer does and says, okay, this is the weight of the vehicle, this is how fast you're going, here are the conditions out here, and so it backs off on those brakes, and it hits those brakes. It checks each tire, and when that tire is about to lock up, it lets it go a little bit. That's why, with an ABS system, you can stop 30% faster with the computer help than you can stop on your own. Fuzzy logic, fuzzy thinking. Classical logic said the brakes are on or off. The ABS says, well, they're on, but they're not totally on, and they're on more on this wheel than they are on that wheel. Fuzzy logic, math, artificial intelligence, take all of that into consideration and make a safer ride to church for you and I. The idea has been around since 1908 and has become mandatory on U.S. cars since 2013. Another example, classic logic says your heat and air conditioning system is either on or it's off. It can come on to make it too hot. It can come on and make it too cold. I usually lose my jacket when we go into a restaurant because brown ice is too cold. Using fuzzy logic and fuzzy math calculations, your HVAC unit will regulate the temperature in your home year-round. This time of year, it turns on the heat in the morning, and then after lunch, it turns on the air conditioning, and then somewhere around sundown, it turns on the heat again, and it does automatically. It's not just on or off. It's on for a while, then off for a while, on for a while. Here at the church, Lee Falk can get notified when someone messes with one of the thermometers, and he can even call up the cameras, find out who the culprit is that's got their dirty little mitts on the thing. But I mean, I have been a part of churches that they get there on Wednesday night or God forbid Saturday and find out the heat has been blasting the whole week to an empty building or air conditioning to an empty building. At the 1909 World's Fair in Alaska, the Thermos Company won the grand prize for their life-changing vacuum bottle. The fast-talking salesman at the booth touted its revolutionary feature. It can keep hot things hot, and it can keep cold things cold. One old mountain man listened to the pitch, examined the product carefully, and the slick salesman says, "Do you have any questions?" Yes, I do. You say it keeps hot things hot and cold things cold. My question for you is, how do it know? How do it know what you put in it, whether it should keep it hot or cold? Well, you and I know, laws of physical, thermodynamics and all of that type of thing. But fuzzy logic, fuzzy math, fuzzy thinking, there are cold, hard facts. Jesus said, in this world we will have trouble. We all have trouble. We have trouble of all different kinds. Money problems, relationship problems, health problems, problems at work, problems at home, societal problems. We may not have only one or two of them. We may have all of them. And at different times in our lives, we will experience trouble. In case you just woke up from a coma, there's some political problems in our country right now. The phrase weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth appears 7 times in the New Testament and on every front page headline and news program has been running since Wednesday. And here's a promise with a money-back guarantee. It will continue for at least 74 days and probably further than that. So you might as well get used to it. I've never dreamed that I'd be looking forward to watching Dateline and who murdered who instead of all this political nonsense that's going on. I'm very tired of it. Remember what the great prophet Elijah in 1 Kings 19 said? He had the best revival meeting of his entire career. But then he got a discouraging word from a Karen. Her name wasn't Karen in the Bible, but she was a Karen. And he said, I've had enough. He told the Lord, take away my life. I've got to die sometime, and it might as well be now. The GNT translates that. It's too much, Lord, he prayed. Take away my life. I might as well be dead. See, he let his problems overwhelm him. A great servant of God, one of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament. He had the ear of God. He prayed to God, God, I don't want it to rain for 3.5 years, and it didn't rain. And he talked to God again, and God said, he said, God, it's time to rain again. And God made it rain. Now that is a prophet with some pull. And yet here he is, ready to die because an angry woman said something that hurt his feelings. Don't allow your problems, your circumstances, and your feelings of despair to drive you to fuzzy, irrational thinking. Look at 3 things from this well-known and oft-quoted passage in Romans, and if you're writing things down, this is some good things to write down. 1, you are not alone. That's why I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Now it's talking about nature. Those that are out in the world, Satan's spawn, Satan's followers, they think things are getting better and better. We that believe and read the Bible realize things are going to get a whole lot worse before they get better. And we're just waiting. We can hardly wait for the good things that are coming next. As we walk about from day to day, the world does not recognize you and I as children of God. The people of the world do not understand the way we believe and the way we behave. The world does not understand Jesus either when he was here on this earth. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. Since in theory we have the same life characteristics, I said in theory, if we're Christians, a little Jesus, a little Christ, we should have the same characteristics that Jesus did. We cannot expect the world to understand us either. Regardless of how the world perceives us, the Bible tells us we are children of God, and we have a guarantee of future glory. Creation originally was not cursed. It was not subjected to futility. It was perfect. Since Adam Creation is cursed. It's not in its original created state, and it is not how it will be someday. When Adam sinned, his transgression affected not only humankind, but all of creation, both animate and inanimate. Even the ground is cursed. If you've ever had a garden, I don't have to tell you too much about that. Remember, God said to Adam, both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread. Mankind is condemned to exhausting labor in order to make a living. Now, in these days, not everyone does back-breaking labor, but if you, even if you sit at a computer screen and you're under pressure all day long and you're using your brain, I can tell you this, when I was younger, back-breaking labor, I could go home, take a shower, have something to eat, and I'm ready to head out for another 4 or 5 hours. But that mental strain and the mental stress, you cannot shake that off so easily. It gets you down. It should be noted here that work itself is not a curse. Now, I'm not going to talk about your particular job. Your particular job might be a curse. I know the guy you work for, he's a handful. But here's the thing, Adam and Eve had jobs before they sinned. Adam had a job. He was the caretaker of the garden before they sinned. So work wasn't the curse, the thorns in the ground, the trouble, the trials, the tribulation, that was the curse. If you are fulfilled and enjoy what you're doing, work can be a blessing. I was listening to a fellow talk on Dave Ramsey the other day, and there are certain things that invigorate you as an individual. They get you going. And you have almost a boundless energy if you're doing something that you enjoy doing. The secret in life is to find something that you love to do and make some money at it. You'll never have to go to work another day in your life. If you're fulfilled in your work, it can be a blessing. It is the sorrow, toil, frustration, perspiration, weariness connected with work that is the curse. Mankind was cursed, the land was cursed, and in addition, many wild animals died violent deaths. Disease even afflicts animals in the wild, and yes, even the fuzzy little creatures that share our homes. In the case of No Shave November, big fuzzy creatures. Last year, Americans spent $72 billion, that's with a B, dollars, on their pets, domestic pets. 2025 is estimated to be over $200 billion for our little fuzzy friends. But they get sick, they get diseased, they have problems. The results of Adam and Eve's sin have rippled like shock waves through all of creation. Therefore, as Paul explains, the creation is subjected to futility, frustration, disorder, not by its own choice, but by the decree of God, because the disobedience of the first couple, Adam and Eve, they brought it down on us. So as human beings, we have this problem, but tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, drought, they're just a few evidences of the destruction caused by nature year after year because of the curse. Next time you're talking with someone and they talk about all the hurricanes and the horrible calamities of nature. Yeah, thank you, Adam and Eve. Appreciate that. Therefore, as Paul explains, the creation was subjected to futility. Although the Lord brought this about, he did it in hope, that's with a definite hope for a future day when that frustration will be removed. Jesus did promise us that in this world we would have trouble, and yes, we do. But here's the thing. You're not alone. All of mankind experiences the kinds of trouble that Jesus promised. Second thing, none of us have all the answers. You know, being a pastor, a collector of books and commentaries, and when I get to a difficult passage, I look at what the commentators say, and you know what I find? Almost universally, commentators skip over that part and go to the easy verse. There are things that we just don't know, and we'll never know. And it's almost like a tease for God to say, I've got something there right in front of you, but it's going to take you a while to figure out, if you ever figure it out. On Monday nights, Dr. Chuck Missler, he comes up with stuff that 4 years of Bible college I didn't know and understand. And he'll start to talk about it, and he'd say, well, that's not important right now. And then move on. Wait a minute, I want to hear more about that. None of us have all the answers. Everything in creation is more or less being held back. God reins it in until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at the same time into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful anticipation deepens. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed unto us. You know, when I start thinking about how some people have more than I, maybe a bigger house and nicer clothes and a fancier car, I see one of these Operation Christmas Child. Oh, Lord, if George Younds sang a song with the Cathedral Quartet a long time ago, Lord, forgive me when I whine. Forgive me when I whine. Let's suppose that on Friday, January 1st this year, you had a really bad day. You get a letter from the IRS saying they're going to audit you. While you're out to breakfast, your house caught on fire and it completely burned to the ground. The test came back from your doctor and revealed you have a disease for which there is no treatment, and you have less than 6 months to live. If someone were to ask you on January 2nd how your year was going, you say, man, it just couldn't get any worse. I just don't know what else could happen. But then as the year progressed, the IRS completed their audit and found that you'd overpaid your taxes, and they sent you a $10,000 refund. I welcome an audit, because the last time we were audited, we got a nice check back. Your son and his wife called to tell you they were pregnant and your first grandchild was going to be born sometime during the year. Your doctor called to tell you that a drug company had just developed a medication that was 100% successful in treating the kind of cancer or the disease that you had, and that the insurance company was going to cover it 100%. And your insurance agent called to let you know that since they had sold you the big plan, your insurance would pay for you to build a brand new house from the ground up, completely furnish it, and oh, by the way, they're going to put you up in a spa while your new house is being built, all covered. Now, if someone were to ask you how your year went at the end of that year, you would have a completely different answer, wouldn't you? Paul is saying our suffering that we're going through right now, the problems, the trials, the tribulations, the aggravations, those sufferings, only those good things don't just happen once. They keep on happening year after year after year throughout eternity. We have a blessed hope to look forward to. God has promised that to us. So no matter how your suffering might be today, God has a glorious, permanent future for you that's going to make you completely forget about your current problems or look back on them and say, not that big of a deal. You see, weakness is a relative condition. If you compare yourself to someone who's bedridden with some debilitating disease, you might not likely consider yourself weak. If you compare it to someone who's 25 and engaged in competitive weightlifting, you might not fare as well. Compared to a Nobel Prize winner, your intellect may not be considered particularly strong. Similarly, when matched to some poor soul who's injured in mind and emotion, you may sound brilliant. The point is that the concept of strength or weakness is relative. It depends on what we're comparing who and what to. Compared with the infinite God, each of us is weak, both in strength and might, in intellect and righteousness, but none of us have all the answers. And then third and finally, God is still in control. God is still in control. We know that God is always at work for the good of everyone who loves Him. They are the ones God has chosen for this purpose. Romans 8:28 in the CEV. God's at work in each and every one of our lives because we love Him. I'm making that assumption here. I hope it's not too big of a leap. I don't see anyone that I think would be a God hater out here. But if we love God, and if we're called according to His purpose, that is, we want to do what He wants us to do, He is working everything out. During His ministry, people tried to kill Jesus. He was not a popular guy, except with the masses. Herod wanted to kill Jesus while he was still an infant, but he couldn't. Very early in His ministry in Nazareth, in Luke 4, Jesus went to his hometown, and they tried to throw him off a cliff. In John 5, Jesus went to the pool of Bethsaida near Jerusalem, and He healed a crippled man. And the Jewish leaders sought to kill Him because He had done it on the Sabbath. But they were unable to get it done. Why? Because His time had not yet come. Our time for glory and being with God has not yet come. God was in absolute control in every detail of Jesus' life, just as God is in control today of everything over your life. You know, we complain about traffic, slow lines in the market, complain about our feet hurting, our neighbors, complain about Washington, D.C., Annapolis. People complain about God. And I've complained, no saint here. We complain about God when we should complain to God. There is no problem, you see, all through the Bible, where people complain to God. Lord, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm going through. I don't understand it. Lord, God, you got to help me. They complain directly to God. Who better? The guy that can fix it. We talk about God when we should talk to God. Yeah, there was a meme the other day, and it's the one where, I think it's The Rock, he's in the front seat, and he's looking to the back seat, the little blondie there, and he says, I want to hear from God. And she says, read your Bible. And he says, I want to hear Him out loud. And she said, read your Bible out loud. You know? Well, is that not true? Is that not accurate? Absolutely. Too many times we complain about the wrong things in the wrong direction. I had a tenant call me because they didn't have running water. And I said, look out your front window. You see that big blue truck? And you see all those men standing around with the blue hats? And you see that big hole they got in the street? That's where your water is. Go out and complain to them, find out what's going on. Talk to them. We need to complain in the proper direction. Nothing wrong with complaining if you're complaining to the person that can do something about it and understands what's going on. I've got one of those scales that tells you the body weight and the fat analysis. I'm over 30% Crisco at this point. I'm working on that. But the numbers were not accurate as they should be. And so I complained to the scale maker. Hey, I like the scale, but this thing doesn't work. And the numbers are all over the place. He said, do the fat thing at night because you're well hydrated and it'll give you a more accurate reading. Start taking it at night, boom, every time. Boom, boom, boom. Right where it should be. Not where it should be, but it's an accurate reading of where I want to go. Let me clarify that. I complained in the proper direction to someone who understood it, and they told me what to do, and my problem was solved. We can all say, Lord, I've got problems in my life. My health, my finances, my family, my neighborhood, my country. A little bit different. The person that complained to their deacon that there was too much sex and violence on their DVD player, even the Lord might not be able to help you with that. A lot of you didn't get that. That'll catch up with you later on. This morning, you are not alone. No one but God has all the answers, and God is still in control. Let's all stand. I have a song of invitation. If you've been letting the problems of the world get you down, been letting the problems of your life get you down, we need to refocus. We need to take that fuzzy logic and we need to apply it to where it will do some good in our lives. Now, Lord, we pray that you would take these words, apply them, and help us apply them to our hearts, that we know that we're not alone, that nobody has all the answers. We need to turn to you for the answers. And Lord, we need to know that you are still firmly in control. You're not scratching your head, wondering what's going to happen. You already have it all planned out. Help us to have that confidence in you in the remaining moments of this service. In your name we ask.
At Bob Evans off of Route 108 in Columbia. Okay. And I also wanted to remind people that we're having our shoe packing party next Saturday, 10 o'clock. Lunch will be provided. And then on Sunday, during Mission Moments, we will have the dedication of the shoe boxes. And Monday, John and I will take them over to Bethel Baptist.
Pretty good. Since the women are going out to breakfast, some of the men are going to be accused of we can't start it. So if you're interested, we're just going to have the people that right down here and grab them. I am not. Pastor is.
I'm talking about accounting.
We will start socially distanced children provider next Sunday, 9:15 in the morning. So we're going to start at dawn. This one, just learn these things. But we're going to try it. We'll see how we do.
Reminder to deacons, we're not having.
The meeting next week. Come for the party, packing party.
Yes. Anybody else? Steph?
country is going through some troublesome times, but we know you're in control. We pray that your guidance will help us know how to act. We pray that we know that the leaders, their hearts are in your hands, and we know that you know everything that's going to happen. We pray that you help us to accept and to look forward to you, look to you as the author and finisher of our faith. Now go out, let us go out and have hope and bring the good news to everyone we know in the name of Jesus. Amen.